do it, let's do it, and do it, and do it. Let's live it up and do it, and do it, and do it, do it, do it. Let's do it, let's do it, let's do it, do it, do it, do it. Here we come, here we go. We gotta rock, 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 rock. Easy come, easy go. Now we on top, feel the shot, body rock, rock it, don't stop. Round and round, up and down, around the clock. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Saturday to Sunday. Get with us, you know what we say. Party every day, party every day, and I'm feeling that tonight's gonna be a good night. That tonight's gonna be a good night. That tonight's gonna be a good night. I'm feeling that tonight's gonna be a good night. That tonight's gonna be a good night. That tonight's gonna be a good night.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Here come bad news, talking this and that. Well, give me all you got, don't hold it back. Well, I should probably warn you, I'll be just fine. No offense to you, don't waste your time. Here's why. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Bring me down, can't none bring me down. And love is too high. Bring me down, can't none bring me down. I said, bring me down, can't none bring me down. And love is too high. Bring me down, can't none bring me down. I said, because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness sometimes, you know. What else can we do when we're feeling low? So take a deep breath and let it go. You shouldn't be drowning on your own. And if you feel you're sinking, I will jump right over into cold, cold water for you. And although time may take us into different places, I will still be patient with you. And I hope you know I won't let go. I'll be your lifeline tonight. I won't let go. I'll be your lifeline tonight. 'Cause we all get lost sometimes, you know. It's how we learn and how we grow. And I wanna lay with you till I'm old. Oh, you shouldn't be fighting on your own. And if you feel you're sinking, I will jump right over into cold, cold water for you. And although time may take us into different places, I will still be patient with you. And I hope you know I won't let go. I won't let go. No, 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 no. I'll be your lifeline tonight. I won't let go. I'll be your lifeline tonight.
Come on, save me from a rocking boat. I just wanna stay afloat. I'm all alone. And I hope that someone gonna take me home. Somewhere I can rest my soul. I need to know you won't let go.
I won't let go. No, 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 no. I'll be your lifeline tonight. I'll be your lifeline tonight. I won't let go. I won't let go.
And I know she'll be the death of me, at least we'll both be numb. And she'll always get the best of me, the worst is yet to come. But at least we'll both be beautiful and stay forever young. This I know, this I know. She told me don't worry about it. She told me don't worry no more. We both know we can't go without it. She told me you'll never be alone. I can feel my face when I'm with you, but I love it, but I love it. Oh, I can feel my face when I'm with you, but I love it, but I love it. Oh,
Just waiting for your friends to leave and finally. So can we, so can we. In the back of the car, trying to stay awake. I can tell from the stars that we're out of LA. With your hand hanging out the window like you're riding on a wave. I'm no good at goodbyes, but always running away. I've been looking for love in the distance. Down the sidewalks, the cities I visit. Up the coast, looking for something different. All along you were there, but I missed it. I don't know what it is, but I feel good about it. You're all around, the only thing I ever really think about. And even in the dark, I see your light somehow. We're safe and sound, safe and sound. In the back of the car, trying to stay awake. I can tell from the stars that we're out of LA. With your hand hanging out the window like you're riding on a wave. I'm no good at goodbyes, but always running away. I've been looking for love in the distance. Down the sidewalks, the cities I visit. Up the coast, looking for something different. All along you were there, but I missed it. I don't know what it is, but I feel good about it. I feel good about it. You and I, just yelling off the balcony all the time. Just waiting for your friends to leave and finally. So can we, so can we. I've been looking for love in the distance. Down the sidewalks, the cities I visit. Up the coast, looking for something different. All along you were there, but I missed it. I loved before, but it wasn't consistent. I didn't know just how badly I need this. I'm looking at you, laughing and screaming. Head out the window, I love you, I mean it. I don't know what it is, but I feel good about it. I feel good about it. I feel good about it.
I'm not looking for an answer. I just hope these words will help whoever's listening. If someone cares to listen in. I've been up and down in life, sure every day's a chance to fight, forever wrestling, trying to make amends again. But I break down and I lose control. The band don't care 'cause they had a good show. I won't cry 'cause I'm lucky, I know. A restless heart and a beautiful soul. It really doesn't matter if I stay or go. It's hitting me hard, but I'm lucky, I know. All of my friends don't understand. Maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm blind. Maybe we all get lost sometimes. And every night when I'm alone, I put another podcast on. It helps me slip away, keeps me learning every day. Reading books on meditation fights away the hesitations hanging over me, easing the anxiety. But I break down and I lose control. The band don't care 'cause they had a good show. I won't cry 'cause I'm lucky, I know. A restless heart and a beautiful soul. It really doesn't matter listening. If someone cares to listen in. I'm hot, you're cold. You go around like you know who I am, but you don't. You've got me on my toes. I'm
Welcome to Jorgensen Center for the Performing Arts. Per Connecticut state law, there's no smoking allowed throughout the building or outside within 25 feet of the building entrances. Photography and the use of recording devices during the performance is strictly prohibited. Please take a moment to familiarize yourself with exit doors, which are clearly marked and located throughout the auditorium. In the unlikely event of fire or other emergency, please exit using the closest exit door. To avoid disturbing other patrons, please silence your cell phones and other electronic devices now. Thank you, and enjoy the performance.
Hello, how's everyone doing tonight? Yeah. It's nice to be in person again. Thank you guys so much for coming out to support these speakers because they have worked so hard to impress you guys tonight. And a special shout out to everyone watching at home on the live stream. Feel free to drop in the chat, say hi, say who you're supporting out here tonight. We love to see the interaction. Just to give you a little bit of background about me, hi, my name is Alexis Sanson. I'm going to be your MC for the night. Thank you. Much appreciated. I've actually been a part of LC Talks for the past 4 years, so that's really crazy. Because the first year I was a speaker, I was like huddled over the podium, kind of fumbling over every other word and kind of like, I don't know what's going on. But the next year, I was an MC. I looked up a little more, looked around a little more. The next year, I got a little movement in myself, got a little more comfortable. We were in Jorgensen. It was a big step. And now, tonight is super important because I want you guys to all receive this message. Because that progression didn't just happen. You don't just kind of grow up one day. You don't just suddenly have something click. It helped because you immerse yourself in other people's stories. You take in everything. You greet change. And so that's what I'm asking you guys all to do tonight. Because it's so special that now we are able to connect in this in-person environment, or even virtually. We're able to hear each other's stories again. So I ask that you not just listen, you not just hear everybody tonight, but you feel their stories, you feel their message, you connect with them. Because that's a very special thing that we're able to do. And with that, I would like to introduce our first speaker of the night, Jazzy.
Hello, beautiful people. How are you guys doing? Good. So, I call this chapter of my life Perfectly Unperfect in My Own Skin. What's that really mean? To me, growing up, I really didn't have an identity. And when I mean by identity, I was always trying to be someone else. I was always trying to be like my friends. Matter of fact, I always denied my African roots. I dare you to say that I'm African. I was born and raised in Portugal, and that makes me a Portuguese. I always denied being compared with Africans, because Africans are loud, are stubborn. All the negativity was associated with Black people. So my only solace, if I act like my friends, if I dressed up like my friends, if I talk like my friends, I'll get accepted. So pretty much that's what I did. And matter of fact, I used to love when people say, "Oh my God, you're different." I'd be like, "Oh my God, you're different. Like, I look at you, you're not the same as the other." And I never understood, but I only took that as a compliment. And I don't know if you were in the generation of Spice Girls, I always wanted to be Emma. Emma, the white, blonde, blue eyes girl. That's what I wanted to be. Why? Because everyone loved her. I never wanted to be associated with Mel B. Mel B is Black. I don't associate with that. So growing up, I didn't have identity. But I must say, the best lesson that you will have is literally when someone keep asking you those questions. Well, Jazzy, you black, right? But how come your hand, the palms of your hands are lighter or white? I'm like, okay, how do I answer that? Mom, Dad, well, I mean, why do I have, why my skin is white, like lighter, and I have such a different complexion tone, like, why? You think my black community is gonna explain me why? Girl, shut up. What you talking about? So that, my mind it was always a conflict in my mind. Questioning, everyday questioning. When they ask me, so when you comb your hair, how's it look like? Here you go. That's how I look like, my folks. Doesn't that all sweet and down? Matter of fact, now, how many times do you wash it every day? No, I don't. Matter of fact, I only wash today because of my motivational speak. Otherwise, I would probably wash on Sunday, once a week. But you said you saw for Africa, but how come you from Guinea? But normally people from Guinea are dark and blue, but you are not dark and blue. Oh, I don't know. I only knew one answer. So when I comb my hair, it's not like down and slick and nice. When I comb my hair, see that heart? That's what I had to leave. And I just go like this. And I'm blessed to be gifted enough to use sports as a catalyst to travel. And then when I began to travel, I saw different things. I began seeing different people, different culture, open-minded, different ideas. I remember my teacher used to tell me, you're not really smart, you just memorize things. Why? Because I was ashamed of speaking up. And I'm blessed. I am so blessed. Because what I thought being Emma was the only option that I had. There's nothing wrong with being Emma. There's nothing wrong. But I know it was not my identity. It was not who I belong to. So today, I tell you, I continue to work on myself, to love me first, because nobody's going to take care of yourself better than you. I guarantee you. If someone will give you 2 months to live, you'll be like, I don't care, I'm going to live life. I don't care what the people say about you. I don't care what people say and talk about me and blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to be me. But we are afraid to own our identity. I am black. I am tall. I'm earning 2 masters. When my teacher told me that I was not smart enough, guess what? I was doing 2 masters last semester. I was completing a semester because I didn't want it to miss the opportunity to be here, because I knew I could do it. I knew I can speak up on things that a lot of you guys question, but there's no answer. Prioritize your mental health. I challenge you to be you, do you, for you. To be the weird one. To be the different one in the room. To own having DHD, autism. I challenge you to look at the mirror and be yourself. This is a special moment for me. I can only thank you for giving me these 5 minutes to talk and to share a little bit about my background. And I'm powerful, I'm beautiful, and perfectly imperfect in my own skin. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jazzy, for those powerful words. And next up, we have our second speaker of the night, Kavya Ganugapati.
Hi everyone, how are we doing? Alrighty, I'm gonna get started then. When I lost the ability to play the piano, it felt like the world was ending. When I became so sick from my treatments to the point where physically opening my eyes became painful, it felt like the world was ending. When my neuromuscular specialist diagnosed me with a rare disease and told me I needed a neck brace and spinal surgery as soon as possible, it felt like the world was ending. When I was admitted to the emergency room last semester for mental health reasons, it again felt like the world was ending. But guess what? The world didn't end. I'm still here, standing in front of you today, telling my story. The world will not be ending for the foreseeable future. As you all know, my name is Kavya Ganugapati, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. While that is the name that I identify with, there's so much more to my identity that I am proud of and that I hold near and dear to my heart. I am Indian. I am the daughter of immigrants. I am a sister, a friend, a student, musician, dancer, and an aspiring public health official. The beautiful thing about identities is that they change as we grow and adapt to new experiences. Within the past 5 years, I have added 3 new aspects to my identity: disability, rare disease, and mental illness are 3 factors that I hold near and dear to my heart, and I proudly wear them every single day. 6 specialists, 5 years, 3 diagnoses, 3 surgeries, and half a year of immunotherapy treatments. All of this hassle just because a few fingers on my hand were bent. Who knew that this would lead to a rare disease affecting my hands and arms? Who knew that this would affect my ability to open a door, to hold a pencil, or to open a bottle? My parents and I experienced so much frustration, pain, and uncertainty as we went from orthopedic surgeon to physiatrist to neurologist to 2 neuromuscular specialists to neurosurgeon. Hearing the words, "There's definitely something wrong with you, but I'm not sure what it is," over and over again became frustrating, exhausting, infuriating, to the point where I didn't want to do it again. Explaining my symptoms, my story, and my pain became such a chore. This started to impact my mental health as I developed severe anxiety, depression, and obsessive-compulsive disorder. I just wanted to know why this was happening to me. All I wanted were some answers. All I wanted to do was play the piano, which was my happy place and my safe place. All I wanted to do was cry every day. It finally felt like there was a little hope at the end of the tunnel when my second neuromuscular specialist gave me my 3rd and final diagnosis: a rare neuromuscular disease known as Hirayama disease. Hirayama disease is a rare variant of ALS. Thankfully, it is not benign, it is not life-threatening. It affects only 1,500 people in the world today, mostly males in Asia. In this moment, it felt like I should have been happy. It felt like I should have been filled with rainbows and sunshine. But that's not how I felt. All I wanted to do was cry. So this really was traumatizing, and I still do struggle every single day. There are some good days and bad days. But I was able to get through this, and I continually am able to get through this through the help of God, my family, my friends, my roommates, UConn administrators, the disability community, and just everyone around me. I literally would not be standing here today if it were not for the support and love given to me by them. I also learned how to lean on others. I learned how to ask for help when I needed it. And I learned mostly to be my biggest advocate. This inspired me to want to fight for people with disabilities, to fight for equity for people of color with disabilities, and to fight for marginalized populations in general. This has also fueled my passion for public health, which is what I aspire to do after graduating. So, overall, having a rare disease is not fun. It can be traumatizing, alienating, and debilitating. I am unable to do many tasks. I am unable to write a 3-page paper. I am unable to produce music in the same way I was able to before. But I am able to fight for equity for people with disabilities and marginalized populations. I am able to spread love and support to everyone who has done the same for me. And I am able to change the world. Being rare is beautiful, and I would not change this experience for the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kavya, for being so open with us and digging so deep with those thoughts. And next up, we have our third speaker, Blasi.
The stars are a very powerful element of our lives. They tell stories in their arrangements and reveal ancient secrets in their light. They will not judge you, but rather listen, glisten, jingle, laugh, and give you wisdom without speaking a single word. The best part about the stars is that if you accompany them enough, you will start to see things from their thrones, majestic open-mindedness. The stars are not always still. Sometimes they'll race each other across the sky, all while stopping the stargazer's world for a moment. There are stars all around us as we are filled with starlight in some way. Some warm, some colder, some bright, some dimmer. Yet every star has a story to tell. Our stories and experiences are an important part of who we are. So here's the story of my stars, the people who give me the courage to speak to you all tonight. The first star I would like to shine light on is my 12-year-old stepsister, Ariana, who was born with a stroke and had infantile spasms, which is a type of seizure in babies. There is no prognosis for her. All we really know is that she has a double mutated gene. She still has seizures sometimes, which can be very scary, and she does have neurological difficulties. A while ago, I wrote a poem, in particular a sonnet, about her. It's titled, "Oh Sweet Ariana." The last 2 lines read, "Oh sweet Ariana, you will go far. Your touch of gold will ripple through the stars." When I first met Ariana, I was 11. I was always so afraid for her. Sometimes I still am. Yet that brave little girl taught me something very important. There are times where it is necessary to take things day by day, week by week, month by month. Being thankful for every day you have with the people you love is vital to enjoying life's wonders. These lessons were reintroduced when I met my older stepsister, Vanessa. I met her when I was 16. When I was 18, we got closer, and I learned not only that she has a rare type of blood cancer, and her list of physical and mental health conditions is very long, but also that she has dissociative identity disorder, or DID. Formerly known as multiple personality disorder, DID is the splitting of identity in response to early childhood trauma. The trauma that catalyzes DID is not just limited to abuse. It is whatever the child perceives to be trauma and how they respond and interpret the trauma. This disorder affects 1 to 3% of our population, which is more people than you think. Yet research is underfunded and professionals are not even trained to handle DID. It is perceived as violent and even unreal, when it is real and it's not dangerous. Those with DID are not dangerous. They are coping with trauma as their minds are constantly wired in survival mode. Currently, in Vanessa's collection of alters, or system, there are over 100 alters that I know of. Since DID causes amnesia, or missing gaps within the system's life, they do not remember, there are more alters, or parts, that we do not know about. When I first learned about the system's DID, I was very lost and afraid. I sat on a beach for 2 hours straight, watched the sunset, and looked to the stars for wisdom. They told me that everything was going to be okay. It took me a long time to realize that the stars were right. I did hours of research on DID in order to understand it all, but I also had to learn how to set my own boundaries for how much I could handle at a time. I had to learn the importance of taking a step back when needed so that I could support the system in the way they needed it. This brings me into the last star I want to focus on, and that's actually myself. This past year and a half has put me through a lot, including struggling with my own emotions regarding my pressing family situation. I've had anxiety ever since I was little, and I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder this past summer, but I have another story. When I was 2.5 years old, I was diagnosed with pervasive developmental disorder, or PDD, which is considered a mild form of autism. I was able to spell the word dolphin on the refrigerator, but I was unable to speak verbally. Elementary school was hard sometimes. I was considered below average or behind intellectually for a while. I would get teased on the playground for being different. However, all of these hardships have fostered my resilience and opened my heart to the world. Now I don't feel confined to any label, and neither should any of you. Identity is not about how you label yourself or how others label you. It is about discovering every speck of stardust in your glowing soul and embracing it, loving it, taking care of it, and being proud of it. We have made great strides in improving our culture by making it more accepting of the wonders of diverse minds, but there is still a lot of work to do. We may not be able to change every mind and every soul, but with the stars on earth and the sky working together, I believe anything is possible. When you look into the sky at night, remember not only the wisdom the stars can give you, but the light within yourselves. Most importantly, when you see the stars start to race each other across the sky, let yourself find tranquility, a sanctuary in the stars. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Bella, on your poetic take on your story. And next up, we have Will Longo.
Hello. All right, in the next 6 minutes, I'm going to tell you 2 stories, and at the end, we're going to talk about how they're both connected, so please, can we pay attention? All right, for our first story, we're going to need to start just south of the U.S. border in Guatemala City, Guatemala, and here, we're going to look at a family of 5 kids. Now, 3 of these kids, they can't read or write their own name, and they've never been to any kind of school, and they work in their mother's shop. Now, one of these kids, the second youngest, he can read and he can write, and he's just started school, but he still works in his mother's shop. And the 5th one, the youngest, is all the way over here in a foster home, where he's been since the moment that he was born. He never had to live with that family. He never had to live with his biological family. He never had to live in that life. Now, from the moment that this boy was born, he was placed in a home that put a shelter over his head, put food in his stomach, put blankets on his back, and wanted to give him the best life that they possibly could. And his foster family did just that. In the 14 months that he lived with them, they gave him everything that he could ever possibly need. And after those 14 months, he was adopted and brought all the way to a new family in Vermont. And here, things were no different. He was raised and brought up in a home that was full of two loving, beautiful, perfect parents who were soulmates and gave him everything that he could possibly need. Again, he had a shelter over his head, he had blankets on his back, he had food in his stomach, he had everything that he could possibly need in life. His parents allowed him to build beautiful relationships with all of his grandparents, his aunts, his uncles, his cousins, everything. They showered him with every last drop of love and care and support and attention and gave him every opportunity. This boy had the textbook perfect life, and yet he is broken. He's broken because as he gets older, he learns about this life that he left behind. He learns about the conditions that his brothers and sisters are living in. He learns about the condition that his mother is in. He learns that he was a child of rape, that his mother was raped and was forced to keep the baby, and she did what she felt was best and gave him this life. These thoughts start to creep into himself that he doesn't deserve the life that he's living. He doesn't deserve to be where he's at. He deserves to be back there. Why is the youngest the one that gets to escape? It should be the oldest one. It should be his older sister, who's 34 right now. It should be his younger brother, who was just 7 at the time that this boy was adopted. This boy keeps having these thoughts that keep creeping and crushing him down until one day he just breaks. And that's where we'll leave him. He'll come back, so remember him. For our second story, we're going to need to go just east of the U.S. border to Italy. And here we're going to focus on 2 parents right after World War I. These parents have 2 sons on the way, and they're ready to immigrate all the way to New York City, where they're going to give these 2 boys the perfect life. And they get there, and everything's working out. They have these 2 kids. Everything looks incredible, and then both the parents die. Now, what happens to these 2 boys? Well, let's focus on them now. They're orphaned in New York City just after World War I, and they have nothing. They're forced to grow up and be raised in an orphanage. These boys have to become fighters from the moment that their parents die until the moment that they're adopted. They have to fight for every last scrap of food, every last drop of water, every last inch of blanket. They have to do everything for themselves. And you remember how the boy in the first story, it took him 14 months to get adopted? It took these 2 boys 15 years. It took them 15 years to get adopted, and even after they were thrown into the world and needed to fight and make a name for themselves because they had nothing. Nothing was given to these 2 boys. Now let's focus on just one of them for a minute. He goes out into the world with aspirations to become an artist, a painter. And he does it. He works tirelessly and fights for everything and does everything that he can, and he becomes a well-respected artist with work in galleries all over the world. He becomes a professor, and all along this man's life, he is creating a family. He's creating a beautiful, loving, strong, connected family. And in that connected family is where we find the boy from the first story. That's his grandson. That's me. This is a story of me and my grandfather, Vincent Longo. Now, Vinny was one of the strongest men that I ever got the chance to know. He's one of the strongest people and one of the family members that I felt most connected to. And I was lucky enough to grow up and be able to build a relationship with him. He lived to 94, and at the end, he was fighting just as he was as a kid. And at the very beginning, he was fighting with other kids for blankets, and at the end, he was fighting cancer for his life. And one thing that he would always pass on to me was this idea that adoption is part of you. It's not all of you, but it's a big part of you, and it's something that you need to process and work through. I'm still doing that. Sharing my story with you right now is helping me do that. And I know that there are still a lot of things, but I need to work through. But what I aim to do by sharing my story is to tell people who are adopted that there are these feelings that come with it. There are feelings that come with separation from the family that you were taken from and the family that you're in. But what I hope that we can do as adopted people and as a community in general is help with that process, help everybody in every way that we possibly can, and just help process things together. Thank you.
Thank you again, Will. We appreciate you for sharing everything. And up next, we're going to take a little break from the speakers and bring out Alima International Dance Association.
Hi everyone, my name is Jocelyn and I'm the secretary of Alima. Alima is a non-competitive cultural dance group that spreads awareness on the beauty of different cultures through dance. Our founder, Rama Tuleli, is from Senegal, so many of our dances are inspired by her heritage. I love Alima because of the inclusive environment and the friendships that I formed here. Today we will be performing a dance called The Yellow Scientist, choreographed by our co-president Kavya. This choreography brings together Indian classical music and dance with a westernized spin. It showcases how these two cultures can come together to make something beautiful. It shows how identity can be shaped by many different cultures, beliefs, and values to create something united and beautiful.
Thank you so much, Alima. That was so cool. It was good that you allowed us to see identity in that way, too. And next up, we have Dr. Amit Savkar.
Hello everyone, how is everyone doing? There was an incredible performance, and more so the stories that we heard before the performance. I mean, when you talk about identity and agency, those 4 stories are so inspirational to what we want to do or what we want to see as faculty in our students. Those are just inspirations from within that have let these students share their incredible journey with you. Today, I was thinking about how do I take this idea of identity and think about aim. What is our aim? Access, initiative, and motivation. Do you all identify with the learning community that you are in? That's your identity right now. If that is one of the aspects of what your identity is, then let's talk about some access, initiative, and motivation. Let's ask ourselves, what is at stake? Ooh, is that the juicy steak that I see? Oh, that's going to make you all hungry. It's time, right? It's dinner time. It's probably past dinner time, but that looks like a juicy steak. I see that as your juicy future, full of possibilities. Because you know what? What is at stake is your future. What is at stake is the purpose with which you are getting your education here, and the purpose with which we all want to see you succeed. I'm a faculty here. For a bald man, I wear too many hats. But you know what is my most favorite hat? The hat that helps my student in whatever role they see me. That is my hope for all of those who are with me in the learning community. Our learning community provides the kind of motivation that one would just, in my opinion, when I was an undergrad, there was no such thing. There was no learning community. You learn yourself, you get out of here, and you do something for yourself. But think about it as, if this is at stake, what is the time when you want to seize it? You heard stories from all these incredible individuals. When do you think they took their things in their hands? When do you think they actually decided they want to be in control? You're all paying for your education. You're all here to get an education. What is the goal? And when do you take charge of it? It's today. It's not yesterday. It's not tomorrow. It is today. And that charge starts from the most simple things that you do in your everyday life as a student. You cannot forget that this is an opportunity that many don't even have. They can only dream of that opportunity. So what is it that brings us to this opportunity? It's the access that the learning community provides. It is the access to the incredible resources. And when I say resources, it is not just living in Word Tower or dining in the best halls. That's not what is a resource. The resource that each learning community here strives to have a faculty in place. That the director of the learning community cares about what it is happening in your lives and posts it on LinkedIn. The fact that every single staff member of LC is only focused on the betterment of what student experience is in their learning community. We talk about life transformative education all the time, without realizing even the smallest interaction with the staff of a learning community might change somebody's life. We don't realize that one conversation with a faculty director changes how a student may or may not pursue his or her dreams. There is so much of access that is provided by the learning communities that it comes down to initiative. Now, initiative is a word that has so much deeper meaning than we just think about it. The initiative that you came here and sat in physical spaces to listen to your fellow students talk is an initiative that you took to come here. Maybe it was motivated by the fact that one of your people was talking, one of the students knows you, and you've come here in support of that student. It is still initiative. You came in this cold to listen to what they had to say. That's initiative. You decided that you want to go to an undergraduate school where you are going to get opportunities in a learning community like this. That's an initiative you took. Now what? You're here. That initiative could be, I'm going to go and talk to my faculty tomorrow. I'm having struggle with this course. I'm having problem with this concept. Initiative is the single most important thing that I would consider in that access, initiative, and motivation once you have access. And believe me, if there is one thing that the learning communities focus on more than anything is to provide equitable access to everyone all the time. It is the initiative of the students where we see some students just touch the scars because of their initiative. So let's say that we are struggling with some initiative. What is it that is going to change that? It's the motivation. Now let's ask ourselves, why are we here? Are we here for doing an undergraduate degree and getting a job? Maybe that's a simplistic answer. So we have already decided our destination and forgotten about the journey that we are going to take. Then what is the motivation? The motivation can be, I want to be the best citizen that I can be through the process of learning to be a community member. Take the most out of what I am being offered, the diversity and the inclusion around me, and take it with open arms as what I want to do for me. Now remember, motivation is one of the most important factors that decide how each one of us does. What is my motivation to stand here and speak with you? It's very simple. If it changes one person, one brick at a time, then what I decided to do today was worth it. So motivation is a big part of the learning community as a whole. We all want to be motivated to do the right things for each other as well as individual. We grow as a community and we prosper as an individual. Now, success is a journey, not a destination. And students are at the center of all of this. I'm speaking here, I don't know if others, I am the faculty here, but we've had some incredible students. The students are always at the center of this journey, and believe me, when you are associated with a learning community, that journey began the day you said you're going to be in a learning community. What you make of that journey, what you make of those opportunities that are coming your way, what you make of what it means to you, and identify yourself as what it means to you, is going to change what you do in the next few years at the University of Connecticut. I have a story to share, and one of the things that one of my students said, she was a first year, she was in my Innovation House learning community. This was when we had no in-person classes. This was 2020 fall. And I wish I had more interaction with her in person, but it was not possible. She took what she got from that 1 year of being in that learning community, started a company, and has been extremely entrepreneurial. Do you know what she said to me? Dr. Savkar, it's the best thing about doing this is I still get to be a student without the stress of being an entrepreneur. What kind of opportunity did she seize on? That's her initiative, her motivation. The access was provided by the university and the learning communities for her to prosper. But it is her initiative and her motivation. That's all that matters for her success and her journey. So to this, if you take one thing out of what I have just said is, identify yourself as who you are with the hope that you have the access, initiative, and motivation to be the best you can be. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Savkar, for your piece. And next up, we have Sean Farren.
Hi. Today I'm going to be talking about an experience that happened to me roughly 4 months ago, and something that I would argue changed who I am as a person today. Before that, I'm going to split my speech up into 3 parts today. I suffered from obsessive compulsive disorder, and first I want to roughly go over what that is because there's a lot of stigma around that. Secondly, I want to talk about what happened, and thirdly, I want to talk about how I've progressed every day from it. So, obsessive compulsive disorder, better known as OCD, is hard to define. If you guys know who the X-Men are, they're these superheroes who have these really special powers and can do whatever they want. Having OCD is like being a really shitty X-Men. You hyper focus on certain things, and you have 2 parts to OCD. You have the obsessive side where I'll obsess over one thing, and the compulsion where you act on it. The best example of OCD that I can give is growing up. I remember there was one day I was sitting watching TV with my brother and my mom, and I tapped my leg on one side. And I remember thinking I had to tap the other side. I wasn't sure why, I just had to tap it. So I tapped the other side, but I tapped that one too hard. So I tapped the other one back and forth until I did it for probably 5 minutes, and I out loud said, "Done." And I remember my mom looked at me like I was an animal. She was like, "What are you doing, Sean?" And I was like, I had to do that. And it's this feeling that you have someone or something inside of your head telling you what to do. And it's really scary when that gets to be dark thoughts, and that's exactly what I want to talk about today. From relationship issues and other things that I've gone through in my life, OCD is something that impacts you every single day. There's days in class where I'll struggle to take notes because a letter doesn't look the right way. There'll be days in a friendship, one friend will say one thing to me, and for the next week I'll think about it. And so what happened on this day, first, I think it's important to happen with the night before. The night before, I'd gone bowling with 3 of my friends, and it's quite literally probably the happiest moment of my life in the last 5 to 10 years. It was stupid, but it was fun. We ate mac and cheese, we bowled, we laughed. I'm pretty sure we might have broke a few bowling pins, but it was fun. And I remember the next day I was sitting in class, and that voice inside of my head telling me what to do wasn't just telling me to tap my leg. It was telling me that I wasn't supposed to be here anymore. And the scariest part about this voice isn't a voice that you don't know, it's your voice. So after that, I started walking towards North Garage, and I hadn't intended by leaving through the stairs that day. I remember leaving and just thinking, I'm a waste of space, I can't do this, and the voice inside of my head was telling me you need to go. In my head, this was just another task, another tap on the leg, another thing I had to do. So as I kept walking towards it, I texted one of my friends telling her that I wasn't going to be here anymore. I need her to look after my parents and friends for me. And I remember my phone blew up with texts and calls from friends and family and people all around me trying to get in contact with me. But it wasn't me in control at that time. It wasn't me. That was the OCD. I could not stop. I was going off that garage. I remember the closer I got, the realer the reality came that I wasn't going to be here anymore. It wasn't this everyday task, but it was my existence, my everything was going to go away, and that's a crushing reality. But again, I wasn't in control. I couldn't stop. The voice is telling me, go, 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 and when that voice starts, you don't turn it off. I remember getting closer, and I remember started going up the stairs, and my good friend Emily, who beyond thankful for, was talking to me about, because she also suffers from OCD, she was talking to me about why I shouldn't do it. And I remember I got to the top, and something in me snapped and told me that I could get louder than the voice. And the voice inside my head isn't this quiet little whisper, it's a shout. And it's hard to ignore a shout. So I sat there and I waited. Even though everything inside me, every voice inside me was telling me I needed to jump, I waited. Emily eventually came up, gave me a hug, and sat with me for a while, and we just talked. It wasn't anything crazy, we just talked and breathed. And I remember after many tears and deep breaths, I agreed to go back to my dorm. On my walk back, there's a lot of unknowns, a lot of things I wasn't sure. What would happen? Where would I go? A lot of things I wasn't sure about. And I remember on the walk back, Emily's boyfriend Kyle caught up with us and also told me that I was going to be okay. And having that reassurance really helped me to get back because, again, this voice is the loudest, scariest thing in my life. I remember I made it to the lounge that day, and my best friend, Owen, was down there, and he was waiting for me in the lounge. And Owen gave me a hug, and I've never told Owen this, but that was the best hug I've ever gotten in my entire life. It was a hug that it didn't judge, it didn't pity me, it was just one that wanted to see me do better. And I knew in that moment that it would be a long road, but I could get through it. So that night, I went to the hospital, I was checked into the SI ward, and I was released that night. I remember I hadn't told my therapist at the time, and so the next few days later, I walked into therapy, and she was like, Sean, anything new? And I was like, went to bowling, got some food, tried to kill myself, and she's well, that's new, yeah. And I remember going into therapy that day, a few days later, not knowing what I was going to be able to do, having this feeling that what had happened to me wasn't something I would ever be and wasn't something I'd ever get past. The title of my speech today is Progress Isn't Linear, and You Grow Every Day. And that's true. I'm still learning to grow every day. I'm still not in this perfect mindset. I love to tell you I'm up here and I silence that voice, and every day I go frolic in a field with butterflies, but I don't. The truth of the matter is I still struggle every day, but I'm working to get a little bit better every day. And that's exactly what you guys should as well. If you've ever gone through anything, if you've ever felt depressed, even suicidal, the little things in life is what you should be proud of. Getting up, eating 3 meals, seeing friends, those are the things that define my life, not that moment. People have asked me before if I'm comfortable sharing this, if I'm comfortable giving a speech about it, and I am. And in fact, I'm kind of proud of it. I'm not proud of the fact that I tried to kill myself, but I'm proud of myself that I made it out the other end. I'm here today. I have a bunch of family and friends here, and quite frankly, I'm proud of myself for what I did. Growing every day is the most important part. Even if you have a bad day and you dip a little bit, not every line is a straight line. We're not taking stats class. You got to dip a little bit, and that's normal. In the audience, too, you should be proud of yourselves. If you made it here today, if you have a friend or family next to you, or even if you just ate 3 meals today, you should be proud of yourself for what you did today. Taking little steps every day is all you can do, and being the person you can be is all you can really do. Again, do I have bad days? Hell yes. 2 days ago, I fell in a ditch and twisted my ankle. Did I want to fall in a ditch? No. And was I happy that I was like, yay, progression? No. I fell in a ditch. So, there's going to be bad days, and that's normal. And owning those bad days and coming out the other side is, in my opinion, how you define yourself as a person. Learning to grow, learning to get past those is what's most important. Progress isn't linear, life isn't perfect, and neither are you. Be proud of your imperfections, the person you are today, and the progress you've made, because I know I have. I want to thank my friends and family for coming, and I hope you enjoyed listening today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sean, for that powerful speech. And next up, we have Lindell Goodman.
Hi, as I said, I'm Lindell Goodman, and I work with the transfer learning community, which you probably have not heard of because we are a very, very niche learning community. My transfer experience started in the fall of 2017, where I was hazed by an organization at my previous institution. And as you can imagine, this was a very traumatic event, and it propelled me to transfer schools. But I did not have the courage or the strength to transfer until 2019. For those 2 years, I was in this sense of like a twilight zone where I could not put words to how I was feeling as an individual. I could not explain my habits or my actions or what I was going through, and this was a very frustrating and isolating time. Years later and through therapy, I realized that at that time I was developing my eating disorder. I was having suicidal thoughts and intentions, and it was very, very, very amazing and uplifting to get into this school. It was probably one of the happiest days of my life, getting that acceptance letter in my hand, because that was my ticket out of my personal hell. And in many ways, this school has saved my life. I will be very honest about that. It has given me a platform in which I can grow and develop. And as I transferred to this school, I thought all of my issues were behind me. I was invincible. I was fine. And as I unpacked being a Husky, for I will forever bleed blue, I do love this school, I coined the term the Cinderella effect. For me, it is how I explain the emotional and mental process of going through a life-changing event such as transferring schools. I cannot speak for everyone, but my experience at times was very isolating. I felt as if I was in this bubble where I was watching people from the outside, that you were all living in this fantasy world, and you saw a carriage and glass slippers and riches, and the rest of us were in rags. that I could not connect with you, that I did not have skin in the game. And so I put myself into every opportunity I could get my grubby little transfer hands on. I tried literally everything out I could, and during this time, I turned myself into a success story. And when you think success story, you don't usually think of regret. I regret turning myself into a beacon of perfection. I was the student that other people wanted to be. I was Cinderella. And during this time, as I feasted on the validation I was getting from other people in this fantasy fallacy I had created for myself, that was brutally ripped away from me when the pandemic hit. I think we can all look back on March 2020 and not think happy thoughts. As I sat in isolation in my home, I was alone, trying to grapple the idea of a global pandemic and how it would change my life forever, how the world was going to change. And once again, in my head, this gigantic clock hit midnight. And I felt as if my life was changing. And this major disconnect that I had felt at my old school, I realized it had never left me. In fact, I have never felt fully connected to people. And having to come to terms with the fact that my neurodivergence was not just a phase, it was not me looking for attention, but rather it was a chemical imbalance that would impact me for the rest of my life. Well, that was incredibly painful. And I allowed myself to accept my neurodivergence. But I made the key and fatal mistake of not acting on it, not advocating for myself. And so I continued to plow forward as a neurotypical person, living to make other people happy. And this is very painful for me because now I look at it in 2022 and I think back, what was I doing? I had made it so far and I was taking 10 steps backwards. And it's funny, you know, I love being uncomfortable. I love discomfort, and I tell my students, because I work with the transfer learning community, that discomfort is magical. It's one of the best things you can do for yourself because it means you're changing and growing and evolving. And I also learned that there is a humongous difference between feeling and being. I have felt suicidal multiple times throughout my life. Throughout my life, that has been a factor for me. And I have plowed through by taking leadership positions and helping other students, because as long as my schedule was packed and my mind was busy, I did not have to deal with my thoughts until I was alone in my room. And I continuously thought, how long is it going to take for me to snap? How long can this fantasy go on? And when will that clock hit midnight? Because I was smart and sure enough of myself to know that Cinderella was not sustainable. The answer to this question of when am I going to snap is the fall of 2021, which is very recent. And I've listed about here some of my diagnoses. I suffer and struggle through OCD, ADHD, depression, and an eating disorder that is characterized by multiple different eating disorders. And this is something that I was very open with my residents because, fun fact, I am the RA for the transfer learning community. This was a position that I had been fighting for since I transferred to the school. It was my goal as a senior. I cannot describe the passion and pride I have for my students. They are one of the reasons why I do what I do. And as I introduced them to the school that saved my life and the concept of the Cinderella effect, to who I was as a Husky, I realized actually how much I was joking about my mental health without realizing the weight behind the words, that these were diagnoses that were deeply impacting me. I refused to see it. I saw them as diagnoses and as fact. Come on, buddy, you can do it. During that time, fall of 2021, I fell into a very deep depression, and this is something very few people know about, but I relapsed fully into my eating disorder. And these things I had been fighting off since the pandemic started, and they finally won for some time. But in that position, I allowed myself to transform and go from feeling the way I did to existing, to being, to living within my neurodivergence. I sat in my dorm and I took apart every chapter of this fallacy of a fairy tale I had created for myself. I unpacked every little detail. I asked myself who I wanted to be, who I was going to be, and what am I doing with my life? And this was incredibly painful, and I loved every single second of it, every second of discomfort, because it helped me realize I wasn't living for myself. I was back to square one where I was having suicidal thoughts because I was attempting to fulfill what I thought other people wanted from me. I was not allowing myself to explore who I was as an individual. I truly wanted to be Cinderella because that's what was comfortable for me. Conforming to other people was what made me feel safe because it's something I have been doing for a very long time. And as I broke away from that cycle, and as I leave you all tonight, I encourage you to consider what happily ever after means. You do realize we have no idea what happens to Cinderella after she gets married. I mean, for all we know, she got divorced. There's a lot of things that could have gone down we don't know about. And I thought my happily ever after, honestly, was transferring to the school. And in many ways, sometimes it was. But I am proud to say that my happily ever after will not end at UConn. It means that I am still developing as an individual. My story is not done yet, because I realized that if I continued to live as the fallacy of Cinderella, I was going to kill myself. I do not know when or how, but I would drive myself into the ground. I would no longer have an identity, and I would just continue to go forward until someone was going to have to stop me. And so truly ask yourself, what is a happily ever after to you? How will you define that for yourself? Are you living for yourself? Do you actually see that the carriage is an illusion? It is a pumpkin. It does not exist. Glass slippers are inefficient. Riches and rags, they cannot go back and forth when a clock hit midnight. That's not happening. Okay, that doesn't happen in Nordstrom. It's not going to happen in real life. And once we start to accept this and we start to unpack that, we realize that, you can only create a reality for yourself. If you live in a fantasy world, it's a fallacy that you're doing for other people, most likely. And I had to take the very uncomfortable step of breaking away from Cinderella, because I'm not Cinderella. I'm Lindell Goodman. I'm a sufferer of OCD, ADHD. I am a survivor. I'm a sister. I'm a transfer student. But most importantly, I am an individual who is worth so much more than living in a fallacy. And so I encourage you to dig deep and allow yourself the grace of unpacking who and what you want to be. Thank you, and have a good night.
Thank you, Lindell. That was very well spoken. And for the last speaker of the night, we have Jody Kung.
I am not the same person as I was yesterday, nor will I be the same tomorrow. I am ever changing, like the leaves of deciduous trees. I grew bigger. I changed, and I fell. You can't tell, but I howl in the wind. You can't tell, but my roots grew stronger today. You can't tell because you weren't watching. I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell until my roots were pulled out under me. I couldn't tell until I tried to use my voice, but I was silent. I couldn't tell you. I'm not the same person as I was yesterday. If you didn't know now, you do. I didn't know, but now I do. I'm a force to be reckoned with. Hello, my name is Jody Kung. I'm a management major and I'm a freshman fall 18. I chose UConn because I wanted to find my home away from home. A fun fact about me is I like cheerleading and dance. My first week at UConn sounded like this. Day after day, I introduced myself. I didn't know what I was getting myself into when I decided to come to college. I had to find myself by my past mistakes. In elementary school, I watched movies and TV shows and I wondered what it'd be like to be the mean girl. Blonde hair, straight, white teeth, skinny, beauty. I looked nothing like that. Why didn't I look like that? I thought if I couldn't look the part, then at least I could act like it. And I bullied people. People were honestly afraid of me. I thought if I could hurt people, it would keep me from hurting. But reality soon set in. Jody, don't talk to her. In middle school, I noticed a pattern of people leaving my life. My character was put into question. Outside of my academics, nobody talked to me. I would watch Snapchat stories of people going out to the bar and hanging out, and I wasn't invited. But I'm not missing out. Going to school became harder and harder each day. I would get butterflies in my stomach when teachers would call on me. I found myself running to the bathroom, looking in the mirror, and just sobbing over the most trivial thing. I no longer felt control over my life, and I didn't want to be here anymore. My freshman year of high school, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. You have a chemical imbalance. My therapist recommended medication, but I wondered why I couldn't just be happy like everyone else. My senior year, I stopped caring about what people thought of me. I made some new friends, but I traded it out with my grades. I skipped most of my classes, and I had an unhealthy relationship with my body. My story up until now may seem really sad, but it really wasn't. I genuinely feel that everything happens for a reason, and I learned so much from my experiences, and coming to UConn, I finally got the fresh start I was looking for. Hello, my name is Jody Kung. I'm a management major studying, and I'm a freshman fall 18. I chose UConn because I wanted to find my home away from home, and a fun fact about me is I enjoy cheerleading and dance. I'm sure you've all introduced yourself before, but these words signify new beginnings. Finally, people didn't know me, and I could define myself in a new way. I was so lucky to have learned what I didn't want in a friend, what goals I had for myself, and I validated my feelings. And I prioritized my health over pleasing other people. Joining a learning community was the best decision I've ever made. The sense of belonging allowed me to explore diverse interests on campus. I met people that looked like me, and I learned to appreciate my identity as an Asian American. I shared my stories of adversity, and people genuinely listened to what I had to say and validated my feelings. I rode the wave, met new people, and found my place on campus. To this day, I am so grateful to have had the opportunity to take antidepressant medication. I found a healthy way to take care of my body through meditation, yoga, and exercise. I get to step out of my comfort zone and come up here to speak with you all today and share my story. I stay involved with the Learning Community Program because I truly belong here. I finally found passion in the things that I learned in school, the things I do on campus, and I work hard to keep myself accountable when I mess up. As I enter my senior year and my time at UConn comes to an end, I want to encourage you all to make the most out of your time here at university. The school is what you make of it. Do things that you don't think you can do, take chances, and be willing to fail, and then try again. Learn from your mistakes, but don't let your past define you. I encourage everyone to apply for a learning community. The Business Connections Learning Community gave me a sense of belonging as I met my best friends, peer mentors, and supportive faculty members. The larger school felt so much less intimidating as I lived with a community of students that had similar backgrounds and passions as I did. By staying involved in leadership roles, the connections and skills that I have built have set me up for a full-time role after graduation. This program transformed my college experience, and I wouldn't be here where I am today without the Learning Community Program. Thank you.
Thank you, Jody. That was an amazing speech. And now, to wrap it all up, I would just like to say thank you to all of our speakers, but before I get into my nitty-gritty thank you list, I would like to share a thought that's been on my mind lately, and that's just simply, there's no reason that we don't have to learn about each other more in this way. There's no reason that we can't do this more often. And I would just also like to share something that a class has challenged me to do and did challenge me to do, and that was to ask a stranger a powerful question. So basically, I was like, are you kidding? What do you mean? What do you want me to do? And so I decided I was going to walk up to this stranger and just simply ask, what's your story? And I was like, oh my God, look, walking down Fairfield Way. I was like, oh, who's it going to be? And I just ended up coming across someone, and I was like, hey, what's your story? It's for a class. And they were like, oh. And I actually got into a meaningful conversation with them. And that's just such an interesting concept that we can definitely come across more often. So my challenge to you is to come up, it doesn't have to be what's your story, it doesn't have to be too deep. Come up with something to ask someone. Try to get into their identity more, because by doing that, you will learn more about yourself and you will grow even more. Feel free to follow up with any of our speakers, ask them a little bit more about what they had to say, because that is how you're going to get the most out of this program, out of your college experience, out of your life. So with that, to my thank you list, I would like to thank each and every speaker tonight, including Alima. I would like to thank Helena DeBald for help putting this whole thing together, and Aria Ahmed. And I would also like to thank all the LCC for coming to help, volunteer, the LC office, the Jorgensen staff. They did an amazing job with all the technology, lights, sound, things that I don't even understand half of. Thank you to all of our ushers, our friends and family who all showed up. We appreciate you all. And everyone in person and on YouTube right now, or if you're watching later, hello. And that's about it for the night. So thank you all for coming.